Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wizdom To Win Podcast with me, your girl, your host, RaeJ Johnson. And this is a little bit different. It is a solo episode, but I'm only doing audio today. And there have been so many things going on with me. I'm relocating across the country from the Midwest to the West. And the Midwest is giving me my roots, but the West is going to give me my wings. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes, especially those of us that are entrepreneurs in the various different spaces of entrepreneurship, we realize that we may have to pivot. Some people call it rebranding. But we have to make a change. We have to turn in a different direction because as we grow, we change. And as we change, we grow. And sometimes the initial way that you started to make your mark has actually turned and evolved into something else because of the experiences that you've had or the people that you've encountered. And I know that I have gone through various stages, ebbs and flows throughout this time of being at a certain age and being divorced. Because when you get married and you've been married for decades like I was, and then you find yourself up against being divorced, you have not planned out your life that way. You don't start thinking, well, if I get a divorce, this is what I'll do and this is what I'll do. No. Once I was married, I felt like that was the nail in the coffin, the anchor on the ocean floor. And I knew exactly how I was going to go because of the example I had with my own parents' marriage. Until death did they part. So I have learned that when you are married into a business, you may actually have to divorce some things. And isn't it funny that you may also have to divorce some other things when you go through divorce? Like thinking about you being a couple, or thinking about the joint financing, or even doing activities if you still have children at home. And sometimes, even if the kids are grown and you're an empty nester, how do you even navigate who sees whom when? Am I going to see you Thanksgiving, or are you going to your dad's or your mom? Do I get Christmas? What are you doing for our birthdays? It's just so many changes that you end up divorcing from and going into to adapt and to accept it and overcome that those changes have come. So I just wanted to come on here with just a little bit about what's going on with me. I don't know how many of you may know this, but I am a stage 3 cancer survivor, and I was going through cancer treatment, actually diagnosis and treatment, when my divorce appeared. And so I felt betrayed by my spouse. I lost my home, almost to foreclosure, but was able to short sell it. And my employer did not want me around. So do you know, this happened all in the same week, literally October of 2012. That same week, my then husband says, I want out of this marriage. I thought we were going to work on how we could, make some changes to improve it. And he was looking to escape. In fact, he had already gotten out of it emotionally, mentally, spiritually. He was done. He had checked out. I just didn't know it. Then I found out he hoarded money to get his new life, which is why my house was up for foreclosure. But the blessing in that is that I had communicated with my mortgage company, and they actually helped me to put it through a short sale because I already had a realtor available. So that happened. And then my employer, who felt that she didn't like the fact that I had to wear a mask when I went to work with the clients that I had, because I worked in the area of domestic violence. And going into shelters, sometimes kids were there. And, kids just harbor all kind of colds and flus and whatnot. And to protect myself against catching anything from anyone, I would wear a mask, and I had to explain for my own comfort why I did. Because sometimes when you are in shelters and people are unhoused, or there's a stigma that they think you think that they're unclean or you don't want to catch. I really didn't want to catch any germs, not because of them, but because my immune system had been compromised through chemotherapy and radiation treatments. So my employer didn't like the fact that I shared that transparency of my HIPAA with my clients, because I had to drive them to interviews. I had to drive them to pick up what we call work-related expenses or clothing for interviews. I had to help them go to different places of employment to put in applications. And sometimes I would just literally wear out. I was still working while I was in treatment because, again, my spouse was divorcing me. I was losing my home. I had a son in college and a son, a senior in high school. I didn't see that I had any other way to function but to continue to work until I couldn't. So losing and having all of that to happen to me at the same time, literally in the same week, was something that I did not see coming. And so I had to start divorcing the mindset that I had associated with all of those things and position myself and pivot into a direction that would work for me, that was more positive for me, that was more healing for me. And so why did I take you through all of that? Because I want you to know that everything that you go through sets you up for the next thing, whether you have the vision to see it or not. And it was through God's vision for me that He knew I needed to experience some things so that I would be able to do what I'm doing this very day. And knowing how I would be able to service others through what it is that I'm doing in wealth building, in real estate, which is new to me, that I'm developing, and also with precious metals. But I had to go through a personal development journey. I had to learn to navigate in areas I had never navigated in before. There may have been some confidence lost in some of the things that I had confidence in before because I felt so much betrayal going on. And I lost perspective of what it is I was supposed to be doing, who it is that I am now. I allowed a title of wife to identify me as to who I am and what I do. I'm still RaeJ. I'm not just that wife or just that mother. I had an identity before I became a wife and a mother, and I lost that identity. So pivoting and divorcing those old mindsets or even limiting beliefs that I could do some of these things by myself on my own. It wasn't such a bad thing to get to know me. So I went through personal development and I went to someone to show me things in a different perspective. Now, I'm a counselor, but it's almost like a surgeon. Yeah, you're a surgeon, but you don't need to operate on yourself, right? So even as a counselor, the counselor needed a counselor. So in doing all of that work and preparing, I had no idea. And I started thinking there has to be other people out there, other women of a certain age, 50 plus, that have gone through or are going through divorce and may not have a support system. I didn't really have much of a support system. Very small family. I built my extended family via church members who, because of the divorce, some felt like they may be in a situation of having to make a choice between me or him. And I didn't even want them in that situation. So I just said, choose what's comfortable for you. Don't feel obligated for me, because I was going through a period of growth. I even came up with a method along the way that I call the dream method. And if you want to learn more about how I actually made it through all of that without being bitter, without harboring hatred, without even feeling the betrayal to the degree like I had before, let's have us a conversation. I have my Calendly link in the description box, and I would love to just have a conversation with you. If you are so interested, get on my calendar. Let's have a cup of coffee together over Zoom and just talk about things. Because sometimes there are people that need the support that do not have the support, that won't have the large family, that won't have the friend or the neighbor friend, that may not have a sister. I don't have any sisters. So I don't have that relatability. Most of the women in my family that I was closest to are deceased. And so sharing vulnerable parts and transparent parts of myself, I could pick on maybe one hand, and out of that hand, maybe 3 fingers that I could say are people that I would trust that intimacy with. Well, being a counselor, although I'm not a therapist, but I do know how to help you navigate some of those new life chapters. And I can help you with transformation and find some clarity and joy in your own life. So if you would like to take me up on that offer, make sure you click my Calendly link. Pretty soon, I'm going to have my link tree published and live for you so that you can see all of the other things that I'm doing. And you might be interested in being a part of that as well. So I'm going to end today. I hope that this gave you a little bit more of a clarity for yourself, a little peek inside to who RaeJ is, and also just inspired you to understand that you're not by yourself. You don't have to be by yourself. And share, like, and please subscribe to this for yourself, maybe for someone else that you know that this could help. I love a referral. With that being said, I love you to life, and I love you with purpose. Love yourself to life. Walk in your purpose. And I'll see you on the other side of the Wizdom to Win podcast. And hey, let's win this thing together. Bye for now.